KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Thank you all for joining us. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We are a Compass Public Charter School. I want to thank everybody for listening and having us here. Promoting our school, securing our future. Coming up, Duck Commander Phil Robertson will join us. That's right. He will join us in the 8 o'clock hour. And coming up at 11 o'clock today, we invite you, if you're around the state capitol, this is a state holiday today, to join us for celebrating Patriots Day. Yes, I know I thought it was Tuesday, but it is Patriots Day at the state capitol. I do want to thank our friend who has been with us for so many years, Terry Shepard, the Ben Franklin impersonator, who is such a blessing. He organizes this every year. Eric Parker, who you heard earlier this week, will be the keynote. I believe Governor Otter will be there, or Lieutenant Governor Brad Little will be there. Russ Smurs will be there. I will be there. Celebrating all of our great Patriots. That's today at 11 o'clock at the State House steps. Looking forward to seeing so many of you. I think Representative Zito will join us as well. So we will be there honoring our great American history. Coming up this hour, by the way, our Kevin Miller cash code word of the day is walk. Walk, code 2 is walk. Hopefully you're going to win that $5,000 on KIDO Talk Radio. So the word is walk. Listen to me at 6:05 and 8:05 each and every morning, and Sean Hannity afternoons at 3:05 for your chance to win up to $5,000 on KIDO Talk Radio. Win Kevin Miller's cash. So we have that for you. It is Thank You Thursdays. I know we've got a lot to do. It's like reading your syllabus as you're starting class for this hour. But your chance to win my dinner, my personal dinner for two at Indian Creek Steakhouse. You have to be caller 10 as part of our Thank You Thursdays initiative for listening to this program, for supporting this program. Caller 10, when I give you the cue to call, you're going to win a dinner for two non-alcoholic beverages, two hearty salads, and the Turf and Cowboy, the Cowboy and Turf, and the Rancher at Indian Creek Steakhouse, located in beautiful Caldwell, Idaho. Before we hear from the Duck Commander, Todd Christensen rejoins us once again from CapEd Credit Union and early childhood learning. What does that have to do with financial literacy and keeping track of your finances?
We understand, and the data shows that as families or other individuals read to young children, as soon as they're infants, at least 20 to 30 minutes a day, that sets them out for an entire life of learning, and that's inclusive of financial literacy and understanding. You've talked about some of the tutoring that you've gone to and being able to sharpen your skills. But as we set that foundation at a very, 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 very young age, we are able to see young students like we see here at Compass, the other schools that we visited here already this spring, and the schools that we'll visit in the coming weeks. And so CapEd and the Idaho CapEd Foundation has identified early childhood learning and early childhood literacy as a key piece that we want to support in our community. And that's come in underwriting, training for professional child care providers, being able to work with the Association for the Education of Young Children and promoting their events and providing resources throughout the state. So it's an element that's near and dear to our heart, especially many members of our board who are former educators or administrators. They see that value and understand how important it is to receive that foundation early, and again, very early in life.
And finally, just around the corner, Camp Cash Ed.
Camp Cash Ed coming up here in the summer. We take an opportunity to invite youth between the ages of 11 and 14. We have a couple of different camps that are available both here at our Meridian location as well as other locations throughout the valley, and encourage students to come out for 2 to 3 days. And that is exclusively focused on financial literacy and how to best manage their money.
Todd Christensen, CapEd, thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here and other schools to be able to share the great things that are taking place in our educational community in the state of Idaho.
And joining us now is the Duck Commander, Phil Robertson. Mr. Robertson, thank you for joining us.
Hey, good to be with y'all.
You know, a lot of people don't know this, but you have ties to the state. Well before Duck Dynasty, you produced videos with your family about the hunting here in Idaho. And, of course, Your great friend as our Secretary of State, Lawrence Denny.
Yep. Well, it's pretty interesting that in today's culture, they we've turned on our own children, and we slaughter our own children, live human beings, while in the womb with tools, and they think nothing about it, saying that's perfectly fine. And a guy, first they censored me because I showed people how to pluck a duck, lopped his head off and gutted him. We were going to make a duck gumbo on the CRTV episode. I showed them how to make a duck gumbo, where you have to have ducks to have a duck gumbo. It's like you have to have chickens to have fried chicken, and they taste a lot better, trust me, if you will pluck them first, because fried feathers on the chicken is a little rough to take. So they censored me on plucking the duck first, and I didn't say anything about that. I just laughed. Well, then they censored me because I skinned the catfish. We were having fried catfish on that particular recipe. We give them little cooking demonstrations, whether you're out in the woods or down here on the river. We live in the woods, so we were showing them the best way to fry catfish. So they rared up about that. That's when I just made about a 10-minute speech. My film crew filmed me, and I gave the boy billionaire, Mark Zuckerberg, about a 10-minute speech on asking him what in the world is he doing. If we get a culture where you can't pluck a duck, I've got a Bible verse here, Acts chapter 10, 9 and following. God sent a large sheet, like a movie screen out of heaven, for Peter to see, because he was letting him know the Gentiles could now be grafted in and be saved, and they could be part of the Jewish tree. He saw heaven opened, and a large sheet came down. There were 4-footed animals, reptiles of the earth, birds of the air, and a voice from heaven said, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." So in this particular thing, the Bible, throughout the Bible, you know, they had food laws under the law of Moses, but now we're free to eat anything that walks, crawls, flies, or swims. So it's called shadow banning. They know that I'm a godly man, a spiritual man, and I preach the gospel all over the United States and the world, brought thousands to the Lord, so I think that's what it's all about. They want to silence me. Pretty amazing.
And this is the Facebook.
This is Facebook. So after I gave Mr. Zuckerberg my speech, in other words, I just got on Facebook for the first time in my life. What the CR people do is they'll have an episode on CRTV. You know, I'm with the group Mark Levin, Michelle Malden, Graham Allen, conservative people. They'll take some of those things and put them on Facebook, and, you know, they'll have 30 million viewers and all that. So evidently Facebook saw that and didn't like the way that thing was going. Conservative ideas, biblical principles. In other words, it's amazing that perversion in the United States is now mainstream. The slaughter of your children is mainstream. And they're singling out. I told someone, I said, well, if the worst thing they come up with on me is plucking a duck and skinning a catfish, I'm in pretty good shape before the Almighty.
Well, you're right about that, Phil Robertson. Thank you very much. The Duck Commander being censored on Facebook. We so appreciate him. It is amazing. God bless.
They've since offered me, after I did the Facebook deal and talked to Mr. Zuckerberg, I just talked to him on it. I don't know whether he saw it or not, but I think he did. Since then, they have offered an apology, and they have said that that was a mistake. They shouldn't have done that. So maybe they will not restrict the flow of information, because that's what that congressional hearing was all about, you know.
Yes, sir. The Duck Commander, Phil Robertson, with us. Sir, we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. We are at Compass Public Charter School. Why don't you ladies introduce yourself? It's not often that we have two published authors here this morning. Why don't we start with you, ma'am?
Oh, I'm Catherine Akers.
And I'm Sydney Gullickson.
All right. So how old are you ladies?
We're both 15.
You're both 15, and you've published books?
We were published in books. We have poetry that was published in a competition.
Mm-hmm. And I've written a book outside of being published.
Okay, you
but
got to speak up. Get a little closer there. Thank
Sorry.
you. No worries. It's the difference between the written word and the spoken word. So at such a young age, how did this happen?
Well, the thing is, we both just really enjoy writing. We enjoy putting down our thoughts and our passions down on paper, and there's always opportunities for people like us. We find competitions. Our teachers tell us about them. Friends from past years, they say, "Oh, I was published in this. You should apply." And so we just put our work in, and whatever comes out.
Our amazing teacher, Miss Gatfield, she is always telling us about opportunities, emailing us. I participated in NaNoWriMo, which is a competition that you write a novel in under a month. And when we were finished, she thought that it was impressive, so she kept sending things to me, and then I said Sydney would like to know about them too, so she kept emailing us about really amazing opportunities. And that's when she told both of us about the competition that we entered, which is our Gender Revolution, a small book of poetry that people from all around Idaho enter their submissions into. And we both got really inspired. I think we both did 3 poems, right?
Yeah, we both entered 3.
Yeah.
And being published, your thoughts on that?
It's definitely interesting. Like Kat said, Mrs. Gatfield has been a real support in that. It's a weird feeling knowing that what's inside of you is now outside. Like, the whole world can read it. The whole world could find our Gender Revolution and see, oh, Sydney Gullickson wrote this poem. Oh, Kat Akers wrote this poem. I wonder who that is, but I agree with what they're saying, or I feel like that's important.
Or maybe they don't agree with what you're saying.
Or maybe they don't, but
yeah,
it's still a viewpoint, and they can
right.
disagree with it too.
Or agree with it. How has your life here prepared you for poetry, for being published?
I was published actually long before I came to this school. But at the school, it's definitely easier to get into things, I guess, because it's so academic here, and Mrs. Gatfield is really supportive. She's able to see all of the things going on in the writing world, and then she has these students who she knows really enjoy writing, so she will be like, oh, okay, dots connected. So that's one advance here.
I'm a really private person, so I always did like to write, but I never wanted to put it out there. I never really wanted to publish anything that I wrote, but I just thought it was such an incredible opportunity, and I think that a lot of the teachers here, especially Miss Gatfield, really encourage students to have the courage to put the things that they love out into the world. So I don't think I ever would have done something like this without the help from amazing teachers who are so incredibly thoughtful and caring.
All right. Well, thank you both. Great job. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And do want to thank Phil Robertson for joining us from Duck Dynasty this morning. Thank our friends at Compass Public Charter School, certainly CapEd Credit Union, Grade Power Learning Team, Mazda Subaru. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. But before we take calls, why don't we do this? Kevin Miller's dinner can be yours if you're caller 10 right now from Indian Creek Steakhouse. Thank you. Thursdays continue on KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget to take us with you at work, whether it's the KIDO Talk Radio app, whether it's through our website, or like I like to do, it's called The Radio, whether it's Glenn Beck, Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity will drive you home, or if you're driving around, maybe you're starting the weekend off, why not take Lars Larson with you here at KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM. And 580 AM. Kevin Miller with you in the morning here. We're talking about a few things, most notably flying. And I was going over that report from Allegiant Air, and I know some people use Allegiant Air, and I think they used to fly to Hawaii. Maybe they still do. But if you watch that 60-minute special, and you can just Google that, it is not well for Allegiant. And by the way, you have to wonder. I mean, there's a trade-off in everything in life. If it only costs you $80 to go from Cincinnati, Ohio to Las Vegas, Nevada, you got to wonder what's going on. And look, I'm amazed at how safe the skies are. I know we had that tragedy with Southwest Airlines, but when you think of the number of planes, and we've been flying for just over 100 years, if you ever get a chance, and if you don't, I'm going to share this with you, to go to Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, the Outer Banks, and to see what these bicycle mechanics, the Wright brothers, did. and just where they were 100 years ago. And today, it's nothing to get on a plane. And it's nothing to fly around the world or across the country. But the maintenance needs to be taken care of, and that's what this 60 Minutes report was about. And I had a friend of mine who was a mechanic for U.S. Air, well, maybe I'll say allegedly U.S. Air, when I lived in Pittsburgh, and he would tell me about how the shifts would work, and some of the stuff has been outsourced to other countries because they're trying to save money. There can be no cost saving when you're flying the friendly skies. They've become unfriendly, and we'll take your calls on that at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I mean, this horrible accident involving Southwest Airlines, and, you go back to whether or not we should have more regulations, right? Let's take a listen to what the FAA has proposed when it comes to inspecting the planes we fly on.
Inspections have been ordered by the FAA for engine fan blades, like the one that snapped off a Southwest Airlines plane, resulting in the death of a woman this week. The announcement came last night, nearly a year after the engine's manufacturer recommended the inspections and a month after European regulators ordered their airlines to do them. Investigators say the blade that broke off mid-flight and triggered the emergency landing for Flight 1380 was showing signs of metal fatigue. The NTSB also blamed metal fatigue for an engine failure on a Southwest plane in 2016. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Exactly. So shouldn't there be more inspections, right? How safe do you feel when you fly? Now, a lot of people are going to go, well, Kevin, I don't think it's a big deal. But when you think about what happened, where a passenger on board the Southwest Airlines flight saw somebody pass away. Retired school nurse Peggy Phillips told us a little bit about this on Fox and Friends and what it was like. I know you can't, just like driving a car, you can't ensure that everyone is safe, but you have to do your very best to eliminate the probability of things happening, bad things happening, right?
Anything can happen at any given time, and it's almost like you're always on call in your mind, and you're always going to be ready to step in and lend assistance, and that's just what medical personnel do. Right.
That's what medical personnel did, but amazing.
I had a real sense of calm about me, which, looking back, surprises me.
There we have it. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. The idea of just how scary it is to fly. Now, maybe a lot of people, maybe you don't think it's a big deal to fly. I do. And it's just amazing the world that we're living in when it comes to flight and safety. And maybe you don't think it's a big deal. Maybe you don't think that this issue is that important. But the airlines have a duty to keep us safe, right? Isn't that what we're paying for? Now, some libertarians will say, well, we don't need government regulation. I think the FAA should have these surprise inspections, right? Don't you? By the way, congratulations to Kevin in Nampa winning our next to last Kevin Miller's dinner courtesy of Indian Creek Steakhouse. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Congratulations. And remembering a legend that transcended professional wrestling.
The only living legend in professional wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, Bruno Sammartino.
Bruno Sammartino was a tour de force of the WWE as one of the most iconic stars of the then World Wrestling Federation. Sammartino would begin a record title run, beating Buddy Rogers for the World Heavyweight Championship belt in 1963, not relinquishing that until 1971. He would regain the title 2 years later and continue another 3+ year run as champ. The Italian Superman headlined more than 180 sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden, with rivalries against fellow legends like George the Animal Steele and superstar Billy Graham. Sammartino, an immigrant who moved to the U.S. in his teens from Italy, would be enshrined in the WWE Hall of Fame by Arnold Schwarzenegger in 2013. Bruno Sammartino was 82 years old. Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
A lifelong resident of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it was my pleasure to interview Bruno on my show several times, radio show and television talk show. Truly an American, a hero. Bruno, we'll miss you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good.
And coming up, we'll speak with Megan Watson of Compass Public Charter School. We'll get to her in a second. First, out to New York. Tanya J. Powers joining us to talk a little bit about Facebook. And I I thought of you moments ago. We had one of your fellow Southerners on. Hello? I can hear you now. Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Sadly, we missed you on that toss. Phil Robertson. Yes, he's fired up. He's mad at Facebook for censorship, and I figured since we're talking about Facebook and Facebook vows to follow new strict laws and privacy and everything else, old Phil had it up to here with Mark Zuckerberg, and he had quite the tale to tell.
I'm sure he did. He generally does not beat around the bush when it comes to how he feels about things.
He's right.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, he was right on message because I tried to get him to say, hey, how about your time in Idaho when you filmed DVDs here before anybody knew who you were, or your great friend, our Secretary of State, Lawrence Denny, who 4 years ago Phil did come in to campaign for, and he had none of that, ma'am. He was all about his message and take it on Facebook.
Wow. Look, even I can appreciate a good Snake River Stampede reference. I mean,
By the way, my mom, was a little mad with you yesterday because you're the rodeo queen, and she goes, I used to be the rodeo queen, and she comes in every year for the Snake River Stampede, and she goes, that's just yesterday, basically, on the air, saying that Tanya J. Powers is stealing the Snake River Stampede thunder.
I cannot have Mama Miller mad at me now. This is not going to work for me. You know this. This is not okay.
I'm not responsible for it. She just we were talking about Barbara Bush, and all of a sudden, and she goes, and another thing. Nobody's on message on this program.
And another thing. Don't make Mama say and another thing.
Yes.
I bet is Mom on Facebook? Because she wouldn't be real happy about this either.
Well, what do we have?
What's been going on?
Okay.
Because there's a new. You mentioned the new thing that Facebook is doing about the privacy and the EU law, and I want to make a specific note of the fact that this law that they're kind of going to pattern things after, they said everywhere, is what's going to into effect in May in the European Union. It's called the General Data Protection Regulation, and it basically applies to companies that collect or process data there on individuals in the EU. Okay, so they said, well, we're going to make it where that people have to give informed consent on how their data is being collected and used, that kind of thing. The law it's about to go into effect over there. What they say is they're going to actually take that and sort of apply it everywhere. Even though there's not a law here, they're going to kind of adopt that way of looking at things. Of course, this comes on the heels of Mark Zuckerberg testifying before Congress just last week. And yesterday, I actually got to talk, not talk to personally, but I was at a press conference where there was quite a bit of information given by former director of Cambridge Analytica, which is, of course, the company that we've been hearing so much about with the data collection and how it was used prior to the 2016 election. And she worked there during that time. So it was really fascinating to listen to her talk about the data collection that they did and all such as that. And I came away from there with a lot of stuff, but I don't want to get in the weeds with it, but I will tell you two interesting things about it. One is she gave us the difference in how we work with the data collection here in the U.S. versus the European Union. In the U.S., we are largely an opt-in by default country, which means we don't have to set, we just, if you go to a website or you go on a social media platform and you say yes to the terms of service in order to use that platform, you're basically opting in by default and saying, okay, yeah, you can use my data however you want to. In the European Union, the way that it's set up is the opposite. They're an opt-out by default. So they automatically make it where you have to give permission for them to collect your data. So it's basically reversed from the way it is here, which is why they're not having nearly as many privacy issues there as we are here. The other thing, Cambridge Analytica, which has gotten so much headlines and so much, media buzz, they are not even the biggest fish in the data collection pond. And that may surprise a lot of people and quite frankly may horrify folks because there are companies that are a lot larger than that who have been doing this as well. We just haven't heard of them.
Well, they're smart. They keep everybody in the dark. But I mean, you're a a well-seasoned journalist. And with that, I'm going to assume...
You make me sound like a cast iron skillet there, Kevin.
No, not at all. But
Okay.
with that journalism comes a degree of skepticism, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So basically, though, shouldn't we just assume when we put something online, there, our privacy goes out the window? And, again, when you're doing these surveys, hey, are you a superhero or are you a supervillain? Can you share that on Facebook? They grab everything, and then they program us how they want.
Mm-hmm. They do. The thing to remember, and it's what she was explaining yesterday, that the stuff that you participate in, like on Facebook or social media, that you do, like the surveys that you actively participate in, and
Yes.
They're collecting your data from that. That's one thing, and that's what most of us think about. And then you'll have people that say, well, I'm not on social media, so I'm okay. Not necessarily. If you use a website of any sort, they're paying attention to, how long you're staying on a page, how many times you clicked on a certain thing. They can get data from that too, even if you don't give them anything. It may not be personal data to you particularly, but they can figure out who's shopping on their website or who's browsing on their website. So you're still giving data, you just may not realize it. And I will leave you with one other thought that she gave me, that if like I said, all of this kind of makes your head swim after a while. But here is one quote that she got right down to it with, and she said, data is the new oil. And if you think about that in terms of monetization of information and making money off of data, that's a good comparison.
Tanya J. Powers, thank you very much.
Absolutely, anytime.
All right, our great friend Tanya J. Powers joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio from New York to Meridian, Idaho. Megan Watson joining us, senior here at Compass Public Charter School. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us here at KIDO Talk Radio. So how has Compass, yes, we still have that hum, how has Compass prepared you for life after high school?
That is a really good question. Compass has definitely prepared me in a lot of ways. I think probably the biggest way is through our apprenticeship program. That has been really amazing because starting out in sophomore year, I thought I wanted to be a dietitian, and I did an apprenticeship with a dietitian, and I found out that's not what I want to do at all. And so now I've done 3 other apprenticeships in addition to that one and found out that I want to be a teacher. So I learned that through that program.
Why being an educator?
Well, I mean, when I was younger, I really wanted to be a teacher. I would force my little brother to sit with me, and I would make him like read with me and teach him all sorts of stuff. But then I kind of lost that passion. But after being in school, and especially being in high school, I've just really come to love learning a lot and also being at school. And I want to be able to teach kids and show people the value of education. So, yeah.
What class reinforced the value of education to you? Whether it was a tough one, an easy one, an inspirational one?
Oh, that's a good question. I would probably say English. We have an awesome English teacher here at Compass, and she's my role model. And just, I love to write, and so to be able to teach people about writing and reading is something that I'm so excited to do and something that I love and I'm passionate about. So, yeah.
What would you say to people that are looking to learn more? Maybe a fellow student. Have you helped fellow students here?
Yeah, definitely. I think, especially at Compass, the culture is very, we want to help and uplift one another and help each other in schoolwork. And so I think probably I would just say for those people who do want to learn is, don't let challenges stop you from learning because, again, talking about Compass, we focus a lot on growth mindset and not letting a challenge just break you down or stop you from achieving your goal. And if you want to learn something and you're passionate about it and you want to achieve it, don't let those challenges that get in the way of that stop you. Use them as a way to make you stronger and move forward in that.
Megan, anything else you want to share with us?
I don't think so. Just, yeah. Thank you for interviewing me. It was super cool.
Well, thank you. You take care.
Thank you.
KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to Liberty Linda with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda. Thanks for your patience.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. You know, who hasn't flown Southwest? Everyone can relate to Southwest because almost everyone has flown it. So when you hear that they had a problem with it, wow, your ears perk up.
Well, I would say, I don't know, do you enjoy flying?
I didn't in the beginning, but I'm getting used to it. So yes, I'm enjoying it more so than I did in the beginning.
I got to say, I don't really enjoy it.
Well, you know, it's nice to be able to get from one point to another in a short time. That's what I like about it. You know, driving a car is fun, but, you know, get on a plane and you're there.
No,
so
that's
what I like about flying.
That's a very good point. Now, when you hear these stories about airline safety, what goes on in your mind?
Oh, it's scary. It's very scary, but, you know, most of the time, the percentage is, you know, that most flights, they don't have problems. And so I think that's what we have to look at overall. And so anyway, that's what I look at now. Even though in the beginning I was afraid of flying, I have to admit that. But,
well, will you fly again?
Well, yeah, I think we have to, you know. There are times when we just have to fly somewhere. I'm sure you do a lot more than I do.
Not if I had my way. I'd get on the horse and buggy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And talk about horse and buggies, I was thinking about when I first moved here to Boise, what a lovely, charming place this was. The people were so nice, you know, no traffic. It was just charming. Now, when you chose to move here to Treasure Valley, did you find that as well?
I moved to the Treasure Valley because I liked Eagle Road.
Oh, I love Eagle Road. That's my favorite. I love Eagle.
I looked at all the franchise restaurants and saw civilization, but that's the extent of my culture.
Oh,
sadly.
Anyway, I'm most thankful that you decided to move here, Kevin. I love listening to your show every day. It brings us all together as a big family. And the one thing is, now though, when I drive around here in the Treasure Valley, I sometimes think I'm in downtown LA.
Well, if the people running the government would listen to me and build a wall, that would end to keep the folks from California out.
Oh, I didn't know your name was Trump, but I'm with you on that one. But, you know, yeah, I do. I think it's downtown L.A., you know, especially if you go out after 4 o'clock.
I try not to.
Yeah,
I try not to. Yeah, I try
anyway, why are they picking on Sean Hannity? I mean, so what if he asked a person for some advice? You know, I asked one lawyer for advice once, and after I asked him, I thought, well, I don't think I'll ask him for advice again. You know, who knows, you know? Anyway, I think they're picking on him too much.
Well, they're trying to get him. That's what they're trying to do.
They're trying to bring down all conservative talk show hosts.
Well, and like I said, we can always thank President Obama for me being here in Boise.
Well, yeah, I'll thank him.
That's what brought me to Boise, President Obama.
Yeah, President Obama. Yeah, well, anyway, I'm so thankful for President Trump. His record is almost 100% good, everything he's doing. There's a few things I didn't agree with, but his record is great so far. I'm very, very happy he won. I'm happy that he's turning things back around. Our country's turning back around to what it should be. And so anyway, I just basically wanted to call in and say how thankful I am that you're here. Lovely, wonderful listening to your mother. Always happy when she calls in.
Well, Liberty Linda, thank you. I've got to run because we've still got to give away the dinner.
Oh, yeah. Okay, have fun doing that, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too. Our great friend Liberty Linda. Coming up next, we'll talk to Tess, Barb, and your chance to win Kevin Miller's dinner next on KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio. All right. I love that Ray and I passed this word on from Liberal Steve. Hannity says, my good friend Kevin Miller, are you represented by the same attorney? No. Sean is in a galaxy of his own, Liberal Steve, but thank you. Michael Cohn does not represent me. By the way, caller 10 right now at 580-5436. 580-KIDO, you're going to win Kevin Miller's dinner, courtesy of Indian Creek Steakhouse. It is awesome. You can check that out at KIDOTalkRadio.com. And if we can go to Tess, if she's still there. If not, I'll take it till the top. It's your call, Ray. So if Tess jumps on, we'll talk to her. And if not, you'll hear from me. Tess, good morning.
I'm here.
All right.
I'm here.
All right. Good to talk to you, Tess.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Miller. So I'll share just something real quick about Facebook. I dumped or tried to get rid of my Facebook here about 8 months ago, pulled all the photographs off of it, had an interesting experience with it, then recently went back to just take a look at it and had discovered that it had been reconstituted by Facebook. It now has just a small group of people who I have no idea who they are listed as friends. But the most alarming thing is that it has several photo albums that Facebook created. And the photo albums all contain photos that were taken off of my laptop. These were never put onto Facebook. They were never given permission, certainly, to come into my laptop. They include photos from work. They include photos of my family, my grandchildren. And I have no idea. I haven't been able to dump them off the site or contact anyone about that. So the concern is here, how do they think they can come in and do that? Well, I guess it's because they can. So, you're at a lovely charter school. They're building their dreams just as these database collectors are building their dreams. But here's the real question I'm asking today. What if you knew that you're living someone else's dream? So there you go.
You're going to have to, hold on, go on with that one. Clarify that.
Well, when people go out there and they build businesses, they have a dream. Just like politics, they push their agendas, their own personal views onto people, right or left or center. And so aren't you always living someone else's dream to some aspect? But what happens when you have a database collector, for instance, like 23andMe and Ancestry.com, who've now joined up with Aetna Insurance? What is their dream? Why are they collecting all of that information?
Well, you know what my wife says? She goes, I go, hey, I'm going to do that. She goes, no, then the federal government will have your DNA.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what she said. And it's funny because I was all excited about it, and then I thought, I don't really need the feds knowing my genetic makeup. I don't even know my genetic makeup, and I'm happy not knowing my genetic makeup. You know why? Because we're not from different places. We're here, and we're Americans, right?
Righto.
Yes.
Righto. I'll tell you one thing you can do that's fun to play with them. They're photo recognition on your phone, which is so irritating. Actually, so in my artwork, when I do portraits, I will send a copy of that off to a family member, and I always see how difficult a time the facial recognition has coming up and trying to identify, photograph, clarify that picture that I have drawn. And It does seem to cause a big